Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I am your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and coming up on the program today, the Texans. Is their top OC choice gone? Also, Jerrod Johnson, who is in consideration for the Texans OC job, could he be heading to New York to take the Jets job? And I'll be looking at a bunch of mock drafts from NFL experts that say the Texans are going to go wide receiver in round one. All that and more on today's show. But before we get into it, I want some good luck. I want some good energy. Send in the good vibes. I want whoever this next OC is to come in with the highest hopes, with the best vibes around them. So if you want the Texans to make the right hire, to make a good hire at OC, at offensive coordinator for CJ Stroud, go down and like today's video. Hit that thumbs up icon. Give me some good vibes to start off my day, because after last night, Rockets Celtics, I'm feeling nicey on a Tuesday morning. So let's get into today's top stories. The Texans' top OC choice. Is he gone? I'm only going to give this one Toro ahead. I don't think he was the top, or let me rephrase that. I thought he was the top OC choice, but after kind of seeing how the Texans handled everything, I think he was a front runner, but not a top OC choice. And if you don't know who I'm talking about Klint Kubiak, the new offensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, the connections were there, and I thought that, he was going to be the top candidate for the Texans in this OC search, this OC coaching cycle that the Texans are going through right now. But with the fact that they just kind of let him go to Seattle and they didn't prioritize getting him in the door, that makes me believe that they have somebody else. I still believe he was a top candidate, and if he wasn't hired by the Seahawks, I do believe the Texans would have brought him in for an interview this week. But I don't think they were ready to go ahead and just hire him off the jump and give him the OC job. He had obviously other jobs in the waiting with Seattle, maybe Cleveland as well, and the Texans didn't pounce on it. So that makes me think they have someone else in mind, somebody else who they have ahead of Klint Kubiak as their top option to replace Bobby Slowick. And I'll kind of talk about that in just a moment, a couple guys who could be that top option. But I want to know from you, who do you think the Texans' top choice for OC is right now? Go down in the comment section. Let me know. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. So if you get hit with the YouTube ad break here, all good. Scroll on down, and I want to hear from you in the comment section. Give me your answer of who you think the top choice is for the Texans at OC. So they've already started some of the interviews. The Texans have interviewed Syracuse offensive coordinator Jeff Nixon, who worked with Chip Kelly in San Francisco. There's the ties there. There's always those ties. It's all about who you know whenever you're getting a job, and that rings true even in the NFL. So Jeff Nixon getting an interview, and also quarterbacks coach Jerrod Johnson, one of the first to get an interview from the Houston Texans for that OC job. And funny enough, that's the next topic on today's show. Jerrod Johnson, could he be heading to the Jets? And wait, before we tell him that, I got to tell you about the sponsor of today's program, and that is Game Time. It is my go-to ticketing app, and it should be your go-to ticketing app if, I don't know, you're trying to see the best damn team in the NBA, the Houston Rockets, who just trounced on the Boston Celtics. I see Celtics Smitty out there waving his hands, crying down into his shirt. He is scared of the Houston Rockets, and if you want to go see them live and in action, the best place to find those tickets is with our friends over at Game Time. Whether you're trying to go to the big game in New Orleans or trying to go see a big game in Houston as the Rockets are on their tour to the NBA Finals. Yeah, I said it. The Houston Rockets, they are here. And with Game Time, you can find the best deals on Rockets games with their new feature, Game Time Picks. It filters out all the fluff and shows you the best bang for your buck, the best deals on the app for whatever event you're trying to go to, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Jerrod Johnson. Could he be headed to the New York Jets? I'm going to give this one to Toro heads because he is a top option for the Jets, but I'm starting to believe now he could be a top option for your Houston Texans. I know, a lot of people are not keen on the idea of having Johnson as the OC. They think it's the same thing as Slowick. But, I think there's an option there. But first, let's talk about the Jets, because Albert Breer put this out right after Aaron Glenn was hired, and he said the top options off the rip for that Jets OC job: Nick Caley, the pass game coordinator for the Rams; Jerrod Johnson, the Texans QB coach; and Josh McCown, the Vikings QB coach. And it is to be said, he went in there and kind of said beneath this tweet that Josh McCown did say that he didn't plan on leaving unless it was for a head coaching job. Now, I don't know if that was just lip service from Josh McCown, but that is something to be considered when looking at top options for the OC and that vacancy in New York. I think Johnson is the most likely internal candidate for the job for the Houston Texans. If they're going to hire anybody inside this organization, it will be Jerrod Johnson. He's also on the short list for the Jets OC job, as I said. One of the top candidates for those. But something that I found interesting and something that I've heard from multiple reporters around this Texans OC search is that a main emphasis is finding somebody that CJ Stroud is comfortable with. And I think that person might be Jerrod Johnson. This is what CJ had to say on his relationship with his QB coach. Yeah, Jerrod. I've known Jerrod since I was 16. I was in Elite 11 with him. He was my quarterback coach there. One thing, man, I can say about Jerrod, man, is like when you talk about someone who knows how to play the position of quarterback, knows how to relay something, but also just a great person, man. A guy who loves football. He loves Houston. He loves Texas. He loves his family, and he's a great family man. And somebody who's taught me just a tremendous amount of information. But on the top of that, man, put a lot of confidence into me as well. So you see there, the QB1, CJ Stroud, he has a lot of confidence. He has a great relationship already with Jerrod Johnson. And if that's who CJ Stroud wants, I think that might be who CJ Stroud gets. Because at the end of the day, the reason why Bobby Slowick was fired was because of the regression of CJ Stroud. Let's put it out there. Let's be honest. That's why Bobby Slowick got fired, because CJ Stroud didn't do good this year. The offense didn't do as well as last season. But mostly because of how CJ Stroud looked from year 1 to year 2. If Jerrod Johnson makes CJ Stroud more comfortable, if he can get the best out of CJ Stroud, that might be the option that the Texans go with for their OC. Last on the show, I want to do a little mock draft roundup because I've been seeing a ton of mocks. I didn't want to talk about it while the Texans were still in the playoffs because we were in season mode, but now we're officially in off-season mode. So I'm going to talk about it. Could the Texans be going wide receiver in round 1? I'm going to give this one just one Toro heads. It's been a flashy pick. It's been a pick that a lot of these NFL experts have been mocking to your Houston Texans, but I just don't see it in round 1. I don't think it makes a ton of sense for the Texans to go wide receiver. Here's just some of the mock drafts that I've seen across the NFL landscape. Daniel Jeremiah said Luther Burden, the wide receiver out of Missouri, was the mock pick for the Houston Texans. PFF had Matthew Golden, the wide receiver out of Texas, as his mock pick. But then the next three, you see Mel Kiper goes O-line, Josh Simmons out of Ohio State. Dane Brugler, very highly regarded draft analyst, went Tyler Booker, offensive lineman out of Bama. And CBS Sports went Calvin Banks, offensive lineman out of Texas. At the end of the day, I think the Texans should take an offensive lineman at pick 25. It is tempting to go wide receiver here, especially if a big name is on the board like a Luther Burden or if you really like a Golden out of Texas. But I think the need at offensive line is just too big. Unless there's a generational talent there, unless on your big board you have that wide receiver or that one player here and the next O-lineman is way down here, I think you should go offensive line. I really do. You need to protect CJ Stroud. You need to help with this run game too. We don't have enough maulers up front. I want to see some big boys up front on the offensive line. I will be mocking offensive linemen in round 1. I'm going to hope that the Texans go O-line in round one, especially, pending what they do in free agency. If they don't sign anybody, then I'm even more locked in to go O-line round one. I love, the guys in the trenches. I want to build this team through the trenches, and I think they should do that starting in this year's draft. Now, that's all I have for you on today's show, folks. Make sure you hit that sub button and subscribe for Texans news, draft coverage all offseason long. This is your one-stop shop for Texans news. And, yeah, go Rockets. We're in this thing. Celtics fans, cry your hearts out because the Rockets are the #1 team in the NBA.